Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning into the NitPickCentral podcast. I'm your host, Zach, and with me as always is my co-host, Andrew.
What's
This
up?
podcast, oh shit, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying what's up. How we doing,
No, good.
people?
Yeah. Andrew's here. We're all here.
Mm-hmm.
Uh it's about time.
Yeah.
We've been running into technical difficulties. We've been running into scheduling problems. Anything you can think of to prevent us from recording this second podcast has happened.
Oh yeah.
And
Like
it is very, very annoying.
yeah, like I mean, personally at my work, like people just don't seem to know like how to do their jobs right, and so like stuff just kind of gets thrown at me last second, and I have to be the one to clean it up. And Zach has some interesting stuff going on at his work too.
Oh, yeah. You know, the casual Grand Theft Auto, sometimes some drugs, all kinds of stuff goes on at my place.
The casual
Very
Grand Theft
interesting.
Auto.
Like, if I ever have to, and I do another Working with Zach video on my channel, you guys will see what I'm talking about. It's interesting. It's an interesting job.
Oh
But you're
yeah.
all probably wondering, where do you work at? Well, I work at a gas station, so
Oh God.
everything happens there.
Oh yeah. You see a lot of crazy characters over at a gas station, especially where Zach lives. Like that's whoa.
Very much so.
Very much whoa.
But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about. We're here to finally talk about the other half of Zack Snyder's Justice League. The
Mm-hmm.
part we unfortunately did not get to because both the podcast was getting a bit lengthy, and two, we were recording that at like 2:30 in the morning, so we were very tired.
Oh yes.
This
But
one, this should be a very different scenario.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
So,
right here, I mean, at the time we're recording this, it's about 11 o'clock in the day, and we're both up, moving around, got most of our stuff done, and so what better time to get her done?
yeah. So, thank you guys again for tuning in. But this is Zack Snyder's Justice League Part 2. All right, Andrew. What are we getting into?
All right, so where we last left off, we were at the end of Part 4, Scene 8, where basically the League discusses the ethics of reviving Superman after they discuss the ins and outs of the mother box of man, and like Cyborg's link with it, and like man's like journey with it over the years, like how it went from man from the Great War to Nazi Germany to eventually America, where Silas Stone got a hold of it and did experimenting with it, thus creating Cyborg. You all know, you've seen the movie. But
Oh, yeah.
now we are going to go ahead and move on to part 5 of Zack Snyder's Justice League, titled All the King's Horses. And it starts out with the League retrieving Superman's body from the graveyard. Alfred and Batman in the Batcave work on the Batmobile and talk about the team and the risks of reviving Superman. So, when the League is in the graveyard, it's actually just Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Cyborg, and Flash. And it's really interesting because you get to have this dialogue between both Aquaman and Wonder Woman, and then you have a separate dialogue that's happening like just a few feet away from them with Cyborg and Flash, and you get to see real incremental changes between Joss's cut and Zack's cut, because in Joss's cut you mostly just see banter between Cyborg and Flash, talking about like, we can get this done in like a nanosecond, right, or whatever. And I'm pretty sure that's in Zack's version too. But in Zack's version, they kind of just brush it off, and then Flash kind of asks Cyborg, he's like, "Yo, so what do you think she'd like with a younger guy?" And then Cyborg's just
Oh,
like,
yeah, I remember that.
"Dog, she's 1,500 years old. Every guy's a younger guy."
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just like one of those moments where like it's just a character moment, but at the same time, like, it's natural humor coming from the characters, but it's not humor that distracts from the situation, you know?
Unlike the other version of the movie.
Yeah. And looking back, there is like little bits and pieces of Joss's cut that like aren't that bad, but overall it's still just a mess of a movie.
Very much so. I
Yeah.
agree.
Mhm.
Like, I I hate to do it because, like you said, I forget where you got that from, but it's almost near impossible sometimes for a movie to get made. But when
Mhm.
it is, it's very incredible that it is ever made.
Yeah.
And I myself, as a writer and somewhat of a director, I hate shitting on other people's visions on movies
Mhm.
because it's just kind of, they work their heart out trying to get this to work. But you can tell when people rush.
Mhm.
And in this case, the other version of Justice League that isn't Zack Snyder's was
Mhm.
a little rushed.
Yeah. Um I mean, Zach at the time before his daughter unfortunately passed away, I mean, he pretty much had all the time in the world. I mean, not all the time in the world, but I mean, he had more time than Joss did, just because like uh, Zach had shot everything, and they just needed to do VFX, and then his daughter passed away, and then he left the project. Joss came in at the literal last second, like I think it was like what, maybe 5, 6, 7 months before the movie came out. Like they went back to reshoot other scenes, and then those scenes needed VFX themselves, and so
Yeah, it was a
Joss was
little
really handed a wet bag of dog turds, basically, trying to like
pretty much.
get this movie back up and running. Um, but yeah, another thing that I liked about this scene was the dialogue between Aquaman and Wonder Woman, like I was saying, because you got to see, even though that their respective like tribes and people have been battling each other over the past like centuries and the millennia or whatever, um, they both believe basically in the same concepts, just slightly different perspectives.
Yeah,
I forgot the exact quote it was that Wonder Woman said, or no, that Aquaman said. But after he said it, Diana kind of like said it at the same, like said the end of the quote at the same time as him, and he's like, or she's like, "Huh, we say the same thing." And then he kind of just looks at her and is like, "Huh." And it's kind of like one of those moments where it's almost like a Batman and Joker type of thing, where it's like, we're not so different, you and I, you know? It's just
we
all a
live in a
matter of
society.
perspective. We live in a society. They
Have
live in
you
a society.
have you seen that uncut version or the cut version of that?
Yeah! They released that on Twitter like a couple of days ago. That was awesome.
Dude, that I don't get why they cut that. That was literally perfect chemistry between both those characters.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
But yeah, I could see why they
yeah,
did.
yeah. I mean, it's a meme. It's a meme.
It
They,
became a meme like overnight.
yeah. I mean, it's been a meme for the past couple of years, especially after the movie Joker came out. Uh, and they just kind of ran with that for the marketing for this movie, like Zack Snyder's Justice League, like having Joker
Smart.
turn around and say, "We live in a society.
Smart. Yeah, I see
Don't
why
we,
they did that.
Batman?" So,
I forget what Batman says, but he's like, "You even lay a single finger on you, I'll fucking kill you,"
oh yeah, he was talking
or
about,
something like that.
yeah, because he was talking about how like Harley Quinn was like, yeah, before she like was bleeding out and dying in my arms, she promised me to kill you. And make no mistake, I will fucking kill you.
Yeah, and oh my god, when we were both watching that part of the movie, right when he said that F word, I'm like, "Yo, Batman doesn't really cuss that much. This guy's on edge. This guy's on edge
This
right now."
guy's on the brink.
But
He's off
then
the
again,
cut.
it made for a good it made for a good like environment atmosphere building because of the situation they were currently in.
Right.
If Batman cussed a little bit, it kind of made sense because of, the context of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So it just kind of added to the flavor a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
But
so yeah, the League retrieves Superman's body, and again, you get to see dialogue differences between Joss's cut and Zack's cut, like both with Aquaman and Wonder Woman and Cyborg and Flash. And then it moves on to Alfred and Batman in the Batcave working on the Batmobile and working on like the Rattler or whatever it was too that they used in the final battle.
Crawling thingy?
Yeah.
I don't remember what that thing was called.
Yeah, it was something like that. And then you get to have that dialogue between them where they talk about like the team and like that dynamics with each other and everything, and then the risks of reviving Superman again. Like, does he want to be alive? Like, is he even going to be the same person whenever he gets revived? Like, we just don't know like how that's going to end up, or they don't know how it's going to end up.
Yeah.
But that's basically all there is to that. And then it cuts to Silas Stone back in quarantine after his recovery from being abducted by Steppenwolf and the Parademons. And then it's kind of just a quick moment. And then the League moves in on Star Labs to get the Kryptonian ship to revive Superman. And in this version, you get another glimpse of the differences between Joss and Zack's cut. Because in Joss's cut, you got to see Cyborg like hack into their database or whatever and like change up their ID system. So when Flash like goes up to the front with the truck or like carrying supplies or whatever, he hands the guy the card, and in Joss's cut, Cyborg hacks the computer before the guy like puts in his ID or whatever. But in Zack's cut, you get to see that the guy like takes Flash's ID, puts it in the computer, sees that it doesn't work, and looks back at him. Then Cyborg hacks the computer, and then it works. And then the guy waves him down anyway. He's like, "Yeah, you're good." So that's just one of those things where like you get to see like some of the good stuff Joss did, like the few good stuff Joss did. Like he cut some of the fat and like he kind of fixed up some logical differences, because you got to think like you're in a like very contended place of like high security and everything. And so like if people are coming in with false IDs, you're gonna be caught big time.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
So yeah, that's just a couple things I noticed too throughout the movie. It's just kind of like some leaps in logic, kind of not necessarily akin to Wonder Woman 84, just because that movie kind of goes a little overboard in some cases with like the logical leaps and everything. But yeah, it's just like certain moments like that where you get to see like Zack kind of putting in stuff that doesn't really make sense, and like the way it's edited, it's just like, maybe another look at that would have been nice. But I mean, it's just, League getting into the Star Labs, and then you get to see Silas back at the lab overseeing the electron laser, which is going to be a very important object coming into the scene in the near future. And then you get to have a really nice moment between Silas and Cyborg as the League like moves in. Like they're going down this hallway, and Cyborg, like before they went in, like hacked into the base or whatever and kind of triggered like, I think it was a biohazard warning or something like that, like a bomb threat or something. And so everyone like evacuated, and then Silas was like the only one who was like, "What are y'all? No, this is fake. Don't be dumb." And he was like running tests, and he was looking at to see if it was legit and everything. And then he was making calls like, "No, like get everyone back in here right now. Like y'all are being like ridiculous." And then after the League moves in and like Silas gets to see Cyborg literally standing next to literal gods like Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and then he gets to be standing next to people like the Flash and Batman, who are like definitely like Batman's like definitely more of a high profile figure. Flash is more of like a low profile figure, but I mean they're still known, and so like he knows they're up to some business, and so he's just like, never mind, get everyone out. So then that's basically that. And then they move into the Kryptonian ship, or the League moves into the Kryptonian ship, I should say. And then they kind of get everything set up to like actually like revive Superman. They put Superman's body down in that liquid pool or whatever.
Nasty cesspool.
Yeah.
It was kind of gross looking.
Yeah, both versions really. That's the same place Doomsday was made, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that was where Lex Luthor like gave a portion of his DNA or something.
Yeah.
And then used the guy from the Man of Steel movie.
Zod,
yeah. He used him and just kind of combined them together in that pool, and it created,
Yeah. And so they use that, and then they cook up the idea like, yeah, like if Flash like goes back far enough and then generates enough charge, he'll be able to like power up the mother box to like jumpstart the mother box and jumpstart Superman back to life. And so these two things are about to happen at the same time. So after they discuss that, it quickly cuts to Lois Lane going about her regular daily routine, and like she gets up, and like after she had that talk with quote unquote Martha Kent, aka Martian Manhunter.
yes.
She's just like, okay, you know what? Like, I need to do me. Like, I've been grieving long enough. Like, it's time that I, like, don't necessarily forget this, but I move past it and just pick myself up and keep going forward. And so that's what she does. She goes about her daily morning routine. She goes and gets coffee and everything to go give the coffee to the policeman at Superman's memorial. She's like, yep, just one last time. And because the policemen are like, man, you never skip a day, do you? And so she's like, yeah, just one last time, and then just kind of walks away. And it's this kind of moment that I like, because in the original, like, I'm pretty sure Lois just appears out of nowhere after Superman gets revived.
Yep,
and like
she does.
It's the middle of the night whenever they go there and Joss's cut, and then when they get outside, it's just instantly day.
Oh yeah, I remember me and you talking about that when we were watching it.
Yeah.
They actually show the sun coming up.
Yeah, they show the passage of time, because, like, again, like, you get to see Lois going about her thing, so that's the perfect way to see, like, okay, yeah, we're going like, into a different time.
When the League is in Star Labs doing their thing, when they first arrive there, it's like the middle of the night. But, like, as soon as that scene's over and it cues to Lois Lane, you can kind of see the sun coming up a little bit in the background. Mm-hmm. Like it's becoming morning time.
Yeah.
And then when it cuts back to the League, it's like middle of the day. So they didn't just all of a sudden, whoop, it's sunny.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so you get to see that, and then she kind of walks away from the cops, and then it cuts back to the League. And they're getting ready to like revive Superman. Cyborg interfaces with the Kryptonian ship, and then it starts to like talk back to him. It's like, are you sure you want to do this? Like, this cannot be undone. It's irreversible, or something like that. And then all of a sudden, Flash like goes, and then Cyborg instantly gets these like visions of like the future, and you get to see Darkseid like in his nightmare version of the world. Like, he got the anti-life equation, took over the world, and then just ransacked the new gods. So like Wonder Woman's dead, her body's literally burning on a pyre, kind of like Darth Vader was at the end of Return of the Jedi. Um, you get to see him killing certain people in Atlantis with his like some sort of, what was it, like an ultra beam or something that comes out of his eyes that kind of like
Oh
tracks
yeah, yeah.
people. Um, and you get to see him killing Aquaman. Uh, you get to
I'm pretty sure there
see,
was a Green Lantern in there too.
yeah, he he killed the Green Lantern. Um, you get to see him kind of like console Superman after seeing Lois's dead body on the ground and everything. Which, by the way, there were leaked drafts of Justice League 2. That is insane. I'll have to send you the video that I watched. It's crazy. Like, what Zack was going for, like, potentially, was crazy. Like, in that version, like, eventually, like, Superman and Lois Lane would eventually, like, split, but, like, Clark still cared for her. But Bruce and Lois had a kid.
Oh yeah.
And Superman was like mad about it at first, and then like after he kind of like came to his senses, he's like, okay, like I just need to protect this kid, like it's Lois's kid. And so like, I'll just have to send you the video so you can watch it. It's crazy. But
Wow.
anyway, so Cyborg seeing these visions and everything, and then it cuts back to him, and he's like, whoa. Like, you get to see, like, he's like, holy shit. Like, all of that crazy stuff could, excuse me, burp, could potentially happen. And so he starts to get a little worried, and, like, you kind of saw that, throughout, like, the past, like, in part 4, near the end, because in Joss's cut, Wonder Woman was mostly opposed to reviving Superman. But
Oh
in
yeah, they like switched it, didn't they?
yeah, they had it to where like Cyborg and Aquaman were the ones who were kind of like on edge about reviving Superman and everything. But Wonder Woman was actually like, yeah, like we should definitely do this. Like, yeah, let's go. It was just really interesting to see that. I remember pointing that out to you. I was like, yeah, in this one she's like all for it, but in the other one she was like, hell no.
Yeah, I remember that. That was weird,
Yeah.
but I liked it.
Yeah. And then, of course, like Flash is going and everything, and then you see like the super slow mo where he's like jumping between the characters, and then you get to see like a little glimpse of like his effect on time travel, because during this scene he was talking about like that one rule he doesn't like to break, where like he uses the power of the Speed Force so much so that he literally can like turn back time. And so you got to see a little glimpse of that, because he's running, and then like you see like the robots drop the mother box like from the Kryptonian ship. They drop it, and you get to see like a corner of the box hit the liquid that Superman's like resting in. And then as Flash is getting closer to it, he's like rewinding time in a way so then like he can touch the box as soon as the box like gets like powered up with energy, and then just barely ever so touches the tip of the water, you know.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And so it kind of sets a precedent to where like later on in the movie, when Flash pulls off one of the most insane superhero moments of all comic book movie history, in my opinion. But yeah, that happens. The mother box powers up, drives Superman. Superman instantly flies up, crashes through the ceiling of the Kryptonian ship, and boom, Superman is back. Which leads us to outside of the Kryptonian ship in Star Labs. Superman kind of goes down near his memorial, and he's just like acting real confused and everything, and he's just like, whoa. Then the
That was
League,
intense.
very intense. And then the League moves on, or kind of like moves in on him. But interesting to see, in both versions, Batman lags behind for some odd reason. You know?
Oh yeah, he like tries to keep his distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I guess you could say that's the reason, because I mean you gotta think like you don't know what's gonna happen, so Batman was like trying to like take it easy and kind of like ease his way in. But the way they ended up doing it in both versions, kind of just like, yeah, Batman just kind of showed up late for like almost no reason. But again, it could be because he's kind of like trying to ease his way in. But again, it's not really presented that way. But so Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg all meet up with Superman, and they're kind of just like, hey, like, holy crap, like he's back, like look at that. And then something that happened in Joss's version that I didn't think would happen in this version happened, where Cyborg's suit just kind of like, for some reason, detects danger out of nowhere and then like decides to go in defense mode again to like kill Superman.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of like instigates that fight between the League and Superman. And so it's just kind of odd because there were certain situations throughout the course of the movie where like a threat detection system would have been used in a different way, you know? Mm-hmm. And then it kind of just didn't, but in this situation it did. So
very odd.
Yeah, very odd indeed. But yeah, so that happens, and then Superman, like, he dodges like the laser Cyborg shot at him, and he's like, "Oh, is that so?" And so Superman, he's like, "You know what? I'm gonna just give these guys a taste of their own medicine." And so fighting ensues. They're all going after him, and it's in this scene where, for some reason, the League also fought separately. I mean, they were fighting against one of their own, and like Superman was confused, but I mean, still, like, they were fighting separately, not necessarily together, so they didn't really stand a chance. I mean, I don't really think they stood a chance anyway against Superman, but you know, like, just like fighting alone versus a literal like God amongst men is suicide, but fighting together against a God amongst men is just a little less suicide, you know. You stand a little bit better of a chance. And then you get to see like that moment where like Superman has Wonder Woman pinned down like with one arm, he has Aquaman pinned down with one arm, Cyborg's like pushing against his chest, and then Flash like runs in from the flank and to try to like get him that way. But then like, so Flash goes into like the Speed Force realm or whatever, where like everything's slow to him, and then you see that moment where like Henry Cavill like turns his eye that way. He's like, I can see you.
Yeah, that part stayed.
Yeah, I've always thought that part was like funny, just because like you see his eye looking straight, and then it's just like, meh. He's like, hello.
I'm so happy that they cut out what he said to Batman seconds after that.
Oh yeah. So like basically that fight between Superman and Flash like happened the same as it did in the Jaws cut. Like they kind of go blow for blow. Superman tries to punch Flash, and then he ends up tripping and everything. Superman sees Batman. They approach him. Superman basically just punts everyone out of the way with his fists. Flash tries to go in for another hit, but again, Superman sidesteps him, which makes Flash run into Aquaman. They both slam against the concrete stairs. They're both pretty much out of the fight. And then that moment between Superman and Wonder Woman still happened where like they headbutt each other, and then Superman like levitated above the ground a few feet and then bashed his head against her, and then she went into the ground. Like that part was always funny. Like,
but I still think out of that whole scene, he doesn't recognize the new Justice League. But as soon as he sees Batman off in the distance, he's like, I know you.
Yeah. He's like, oh, this guy's the one who killed me in the first place. Or like, allowed me to die in the first place, you know?
Yeah.
Because you got to think, like, if Batman wasn't as damaged and basically deranged as he was in Batman versus Superman, like, they could have easily gotten together and taken down Lex Luthor, and Doomsday never would have been a thing. Thus,
Yeah,
Superman never would have died.
exactly. But, things happen.
Yep. Things happen, people make mistakes, and Batman is just trying his best to correct that mistake.
But
Um, but
yeah,
yeah,
literally that scene, that part always got me because it's like, oh shit.
yeah, like Batman is in trouble.
That's the scene I was hinting at where they cut it out. That cringy line
Oh
Superman
my god.
says.
So yeah, like Superman like blasts him with heat vision, and like Batman blocks it because of the gauntlet that Alfred made. Um, and then like he gets a hold of Batman and grabs him. Oh no, in this one he doesn't grab him, right? He
No, he
just
doesn't
stays on the
grab him
ground.
in this
Yeah,
one.
but in
Yeah.
Joss's version, oh my god, that stupid line where he's like, "Do you bleed?" Like he said that in such a weird way. Like, oh, it's so bad, dude. So
Yeah.
bad.
I hate it. It made me cringe.
Very cringy. Very cringy. Like obviously, yeah, it's supposed to be a callback to Batman versus Superman. Like, do you bleed? Like whenever Batman asked him that, but I mean, like, he didn't have to say it in that moment. He didn't have to say it the way he did. It was very cringy. Just was not needed. Like,
Very much so.
yeah. So I'm glad that's one of the things that Zach
Didn't make the
decided.
cut.
Yeah, didn't make the cut.
But
But yeah, Batman still is just very adamant. He's like, yeah, like, I'm sorry. Like, this world needs you. Like, we need you and everything. And then Lois shows up and then basically calms him down and everything. Superman kind of has this, like, epiphany of, like, who he is and everything. Kind of comes back to his senses. Floats down. Kind of has, like, a little moment with Lois. And then he basically abducts her. Like, you just got to think, like, not many people know that Superman is, like, in with Lois and everything. And so, like, Lois is just kind of like her own person. And then she walks up to Superman, hugs him, and then they fly away. Like, so you just got to think what the police thought of that. They're like, are we not going to go after him for that? Like, man literally just abducted a woman. But yeah. Anyway, after that, it cuts to Steppenwolf stealing the last box. So basically, what happened when Superman flew out of the Kryptonian ship, the box also flew out and like landed like on the complete opposite side of where they were at, and Steppenwolf. Oh wait. Oh yeah. Okay, so yeah, I landed there, and then Silas was the one because he was out in the crowd, like after everyone got evacuated and everything. Silas was the one to grab the box and bring it back in with him to keep it away from Steppenwolf and everything. And Steppenwolf can like smell it and everything, so he can like track it, and so he jumps into the lab and like bursts through the wall, and then meets up with Silas. And then Cyborg, he's like, oh god, like, so he goes in there and tries to like defend his father and prevent Steppenwolf from getting the box and everything. And then this moment where like they're both pretty much at ultimatum, like either Steppenwolf is gonna get the box and kill Silas, or Cyborg is gonna stop Steppenwolf, at least for a little bit, to get the box. And what happens is Silas activates the electron ray that hits the mother box, thus like increasing its temperature exponentially and making it like one of, if not the hottest thing on the planet, making it easy to track. And doing so, he sacrificed his life because he was like in the chamber at the same time, because he tried to keep Steppenwolf at bay, like between like all those walls and the glass and everything. And yeah, like Cyborg, he's there. He's like, "Oh my god, like no!" And then like, if you notice, he has this intimate moment with both of his parents before they die, because in the flashback in the earlier in the movie, you get to see, I believe he holds out his left hand like as his mom is about to die from the car crash, and then after Silas turns on the electron ray, he starts to like wither away because his body's like literally like basically combusting, and Cyborg again like holds out his left hand like looking out toward his dad as he's dying. And so it's just like a little moment right there with his character where like he goes through the similar trauma between his parents. This is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
But yeah, Silas dies. And then Steppenwolf eventually subdues Cyborg, kind of just like hits him away and breaks through the glass and seals the box. And so they're kind of just like left defeated and everything. They're like, bruh. Yeah, that's basically it for part 5. And then it goes on to part 6. And this part is pretty lengthy, so we're gonna be in for quite the ride, people.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes.
Oh yes. And so part 6, titled Something Darker. And so it starts off with Superman and Lois Lane landing back at his old farm home, just kind of in the cornfield and everything. And again, Martha's house. Excuse me. Martha Kent's house is foreclosed because she couldn't keep up on payments and everything. So like no one's there, so they're just kind of just doing their thing. They have this like little moment together, and then it cuts back to the League, meeting back up at the Batcave and discuss the plan to separate the Unity and defeat Steppenwolf, because they know Superman's back. He's just kind of like doing his thing, like trying to get acclimated to the world and everything. And then Cyborg explains to everyone else, like, hey, like we can still track the mother box because like my dad like hit it with the electron ray, so we can track them like on thermal recognition scans or whatever. And so that's what they do. And then it quickly cuts back to Superman out in the field, reminiscing and kind of like, I guess, reinstating his marriage or proposal to Lois Lane and everything. And then they have this like character moment. And then Martha Kent arrives, and she's just like totally starstruck, or awestruck, I should say, because like her son is back, and like he's back. And so they have this little moment, which I think is really, really touching. But at the same time, I feel like in this version, a lot of the humanity was like kind of taken away, because there were certain bits of dialogue in Joss's version that got taken away from this, that kind of showed like Superman's perspective on like coming back and everything, and like what he needs to do, you know. But again, like that's just like the difference between Joss and Zack and everything. Like Zack uses a lot of imagery and implications in his movies, I would say. I mean, I've only seen like Man of Steel once, like I've said, Batman vs Superman a couple times, and then this a couple times. But I could definitely tell like Zack is definitely kind of like more of a auteur kind of director, where he's like real fancy. He uses a lot of symbolism and imagery and stuff like that, like I just said. So yeah, Martha Kent arrives, meets her son again. And then the League, it cuts back to the League, still in the Batcave, preparing for battle, and they all just kind of like have character moments. And so Flash and Aquaman are kind of sitting at a table, and Cyborg is over there like just tinkering with some stuff or whatever with his interface that he has, and he looks over, like Aquaman looks over at Cyborg, and he's like, "We're asking a kid who just lost his father to go up against the most powerful machines in the universe. It's not fair." And Flash looks over at him, and he's like, "I thought you didn't care." And then Aquaman's like, "I never said that." And
yeah,
you get this real interesting moment where, like, in the Joss version of this movie, Aquaman was kind of like that bullheaded, like, oh, like I'm too cool for school, like I'm the tough guy, and so like, he kind of seemed like he was like working against Cyborg and everything, or not necessarily working against him, just like had like a lot of distrust in him, just because like he was the one to again like fire at Superman because he couldn't control the machine and everything. But in this one, he kind of pulls back a little bit and kind of just realizes, like, hey, like, this kid's been through a lot. And, like, I just don't think it's fair for him to be taking on this daunting task after all of that's happened to him, you know?
Yeah, it was a Aquaman in the other movie, like you said. He was, I don't know, he was portrayed as not the right character
Yeah.
compared to this one. Like, I like what they were going for in this one
Yeah.
because it just kind of matched the atmosphere that they were going for too.
Yeah. Like, the tone in Zack's version is much more streamlined and consistent than it is in Joss's version, because, like, you'll have, like, a really intense moment, and then, like, 2 seconds later, either a joke will be cracked or just something lighthearted will happen where it's just like, okay, like I'm getting tonal whiplash here. Like we can't have these two polar opposite things happen like back to back. Like there needs to be a transition, you know?
Yeah. There's no consistency.
Yeah. So that happens, and then it kind of cuts back to Batman kind of just sitting at the back computer, and he kind of just like looking at everyone, like thinking. Wonder Woman walks up to him, and she's like, so like, what's up? And Batman kind of explains to him, or to her, the premonition he had back in Batman versus Superman with like an older version of Flash.
That was badass.
Yeah. Like you get to see that continuity, because I remember back in Batman versus Superman, that was one of the most random things in that entire movie. Like Batman is literally just sitting there, and then all of a sudden, like Flash just comes out of literally the ether, is like, "Watch out, Lois is the key," and then dips. So it's like, bruh. But again, like we get to see that continuity, we get to see that plot point brought up again, and near the end of the movie with the nightmare sequence, we get to see the kind of like the
same Flash.
Yeah, we get to see the same Flash. We get to see that end point, I guess it would be,
or the beginning of what is to be for when he, because we obviously don't see him travel back in time, but just seeing that version of Flash is enough for us to go, oh, so this is where he's from.
Yeah. And so we get to see that, or we get to hear about that, I should say. And again, it's just really interesting. A lot of this, like, could it be cut? Yeah, it probably could. But I think it's good just because, like, again, it's more time with these characters, more time in this universe, and it lets us care about these characters more, which is what I like to see. And again, there are certain other scenes in this movie that could either be trimmed down or cut entirely, just because they're not the most necessary. But again, like, I believe it's a good thing because, again, more time with these characters, and they're a lot more interesting, at least in my opinion, in this version. And there's nothing wrong with spending more time with more interesting characters.
Exactly. And this is This is Zack Snyder's vision. We should just be happy we at least got it.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Because there was definitely some times where it was like, yeah, there's definitely another version of this movie, but it's not coming out
Mm-hmm.
anytime soon.
Yeah.
And then bam, here it is.
Yeah. Like the fact that this even happened in the first place is just a
A
miracle
miracle.
in and of itself.
Exactly.
But then that's basically the end of that, and it cuts to Steppenwolf initiating the Unity. Like he has all three mother boxes, puts them all together, and like you get to see them like morph and everything, because like for some reason it takes like a really really long time for them to morph into like the singular yawn,
Oh yeah.
the singular Unity.
Yeah, Doctor.
Yeah, doctor.
Oh man.
But yeah, that happens, and then the League comes up with a plan of attack, and so they basically are like, okay, so Cyborg's gonna go in and separate the Unity. Batman's gonna lead a frontal assault to try to take down the barrier and everything, so everyone else can get through. Flash is gonna be the one like making up a charge, so whenever it's time for to separate the Unity, he'll be able to quickly zoom over to Cyborg, power him up, and allow him to split the boxes. And then Aquaman and Wonder Woman are basically there to fight off everything else. Superman, so then it cuts back to Superman going to the Kryptonian ship, where he's still kind of like gathering his memories and everything. He starts to hear voices and like quotes from both Pa Kent from Man of Steel as well as his Kryptonian father. What was his name again?
I do not remember, but I do know it's Russell Crowe.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. What is
Here, you know what? While you're explaining the scene, I'm gonna look up his name real quick.
I bet. So yeah, Superman starts hearing voices and quotes from both of his fathers, kind of like reinstating like who he is as a person and the kind of hero he is going to be and is. And then he gathers his new black suit.
So Russell Crowe's character is Jor-El.
Jor-El. Oh my god. I knew it was something like that because obviously like Clark's name is Kal-El. I just forgot the beginning of it. Jor-El.
Nope.
Okay.
Jor-El is his name.
Perfect.
But I like this scene a lot too because, like you were saying, the character development that they've been trying to achieve in this version of Justice League is tremendously different, and we finally get to see that with Superman because in the other version of this Justice League movie, they revive Superman and then we don't see him for the rest of the movie till closer to the end.
Mm-hmm.
He just shows up. But in this one, we get to see him as soon as he gets revived. He instantly goes and revisits family, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
He comes back to the Kryptonian ship, hears a bunch of voices, kind of builds up to him, becoming Superman again, becoming that righteous figure for humanity to latch onto again, like they did. But he's been dead, so not everybody knows that he's alive yet.
Yeah.
And I like that scene. Obviously, it leads up to the end of the movie, but we finally get to see Black Suit's Superman.
You almost said Spider-Man.
I did almost say Spider-Man, but we're not in that universe. So
not quite yet. That's a podcast for another day.
But could you imagine?
Dog, Superman versus Spider-Man.
Spider-Man shows up. Hey everyone.
Pizza time.
On the roost. Hey everyone.
Hey everyone. Oh god.
That would be hilarious.
That would be hilarious. But anyway, Superman gets his black suit like Zach was saying. And in this movie, They don't really explain the significance of the black suit. They kind of just have it be a thing that happens. But
Wasn't it like in the ship though?
yeah, it was in the ship, and like he gets it, but like, uh, so like the reason behind the black suit like being a thing, anyways, is because black, like the color black, absorbs more sunlight, and so that's how like Superman heals himself and everything. Like the sun is like one of his sources of power, and so that's why after he gets the suit, he flies up into space to kind of like soaks up the sun, you know, because like
Oh
he's
yeah.
still trying to like gather himself, trying to power back up and everything. And so I mean, I guess you could play it off like that, like yeah, like that's the suit like doing its thing, but that's only if like you know what
Like
that
you're a
suit is
diehard
going
comic
into it.
fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
But did you notice? Sorry, we're backtracking here.
no, you're good.
Did you notice when he opened like the vault with all, there was a female version of the original Superman suit?
No way.
I'm being dead serious.
Dude,
There was the black suit, there was a female version, and then there was a whole nother suit that was like kind of armored and stuff. Kind of like General Zod's a little bit.
really?
Yeah, but there was a female version.
Wow. You think after seeing this movie 3 times I'd remember that?
But yeah, I've only seen this movie once.
Sheesh. I need to
But
open
yeah,
my eyes.
that was a little, a little nod, little hey,
Ugh,
possibly might be doing something in the future.
possibly. But
But
probably not because WB doesn't know what they're doing. But yeah, so kind of like going back to the black suit situation, um, I feel like if they would have went with the classic like red and blue suit, it would have been fine, like they did in Joss's version. Um, but it would have been nice to kind of like get a quick like rundown on like what the black suit like is there for instead of just like looking cool, you know. I mean,
yeah.
don't get me wrong, it looks badass, but
Well, and everybody, the fan base was like begging for black suit Superman.
mhm.
So they're just like, you know what? Fan service.
Fan service.
So they just kind of had to do it. That's like what we were talking about with the Joker, with we live in a society type thing.
Yeah.
It became such a meme. They're like, let's market this. This is how we get this movie out there to
Mhm.
the younger generation.
Yeah, and like I think that's one of those things too. Why they wanted Superman to be in the black suit because they wanted to really differentiate. Okay, Joss had his version, but this is Zack's version. Like Zack's version has the one with the black suit of Superman. Zack's version's the one with Darkseid in it, like for longer than like 5 seconds. Zack's version is the one where Steppenwolf doesn't look like a trash like action figure from 2006. So like they definitely are using certain elements to really push the idea of like these are two different movies, but at the same time like it would have been nice to get like a quick rundown, like I said, of the significance of the suit and why it's there besides, I mean, obviously it looking incredibly badass. But that's
Yeah.
just me. That's just me. Um so yeah, that's basically that. It then cuts to the League arriving at Moscow. Batman kind of does this thing where he drops off the League and then he kind of moves forward towards the barrier and everything. Um, and he uses the Batmobile as a frontal assault. Um, then the League kind of like splits off, comes in for assistance after like Batman is kind of getting like swarmed with parademons and everything, because like this whole thing started out with I believe Batman and the Batwing destroying the barrier, and then the parademons got a hold of him and like he kind of crash landed, and then after he crash landed, like he kind of like just flipped off the power anyways, And like I remember looking over at you, I was like, "Oh, we're about to get some like stealthy Batman up in here." I think.
Oh yeah, no, we were both like, "Oh, is this actual Batman? Batman doing Batman things?"
Batman doing Batman stuff is like, for the most part, I mean, Batman like he's got the grapple hook and everything, and we've seen him like go out and like recruit people, but we never got to see him like do like what you'd expect Batman to do, like detective work or like sneaking around in the shadows and being stealthy and everything. Like we haven't really got that with Ben Affleck's Batman, besides a few scenes in Batman versus Superman.
But this was a pleasant surprise, like we were saying, when Batman was kind of like doing Batman things. Since this movie is kind of rated R a little
Yeah.
bit,
Oh
we
yeah,
got
it
to
is
see,
rated R.
we got to see some Batman rated R stuff that was really gnarly, and me and you both had our jaws wide open.
Yeah, we were like, oh, here we go, Batman doing Batman stuff.
Well, like he was doing Batman stuff, but when he would mess with the parademons, he like decapitated one of them and
Yeah,
like shot his grapple hook through one and like flung him off the end.
yeah. Like
I'm
Batman
like,
is a straight
oh,
savage.
oh, and then he like killed one of them with a machine gun or something like that, and then took over that turret, that
Mm-hmm.
alien turret thing.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Yeah. Incredibly badass. Batman. Ben Affleck.
Batflack.
Batfleck. I think he could have been probably the greatest version of Batman like ever. I personally still believe that title goes to Christian Bale.
I do too. I do too.
But yeah, I think if Ben Affleck could have kept going as Batman, he could have been like the definitive version. Just because like he was going through like a real like character arc between Batman versus Superman going into Justice League, which would have more than likely carried over into his own solo movie that he was supposed to get, but then that eventually changed and now it's Robert Pattinson.
Which I'm still overly optimistic about
Mm-hmm.
the Robert Pattinson version because it looks really good.
Mm-hmm. It looks really good.
But
And
I would have liked to see Batflack in his own movie. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm. That would
Because
have
we,
been
like
really
you
dope.
said, we've seen him in the past 3 movies now, both Justice League movies and Batman vs Superman. But wouldn't it be nice to have his own film like Man of Steel?
Mm-hmm.
Just Batman doing Batman things.
Yeah.
Or even him showing up at the end of Suicide Squad, and that's where the next movie takes place.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Just little things like that. But stuff happens.
Yep. Stuff happens, and I mean, you never know. Like they're doing this whole like alternate or multiverse type of thing now, because I don't know if you saw this, but it was either rumored or like slightly confirmed, but Robert Pattinson's like the Batman movie is going to be taking place in the DCEU's version of Earth 2, like from the DC Comics.
Ooh.
So like it's still part of the DCEU, but not necessarily part of the Justice League universe. It's just its own separate thing,
Okay.
but just set on a different Earth.
Okay.
So yeah, like I definitely believe at some point, whether it be in the Flash movie or some other movie where like something like crazy happens, like I think they're gonna try to clean up the timeline,
Oh, some
because
Avengers Endgame stuff.
yeah, some Loki stuff too now.
Oh yeah, some Loki
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Um, because you got to think like they have Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, and then Zack Snyder's Justice League. But Zack Snyder's Justice League is considered like the Elseworld story or whatever, so it's not necessarily canon. So that's its own universe. Um, Justice League is considered canon in the DCEU, so like Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and then Justice League or Joss Whedon's Justice League, I should say. And
which
then
sucks.
yeah, which sucks. And then there's Birds of Prey, which also happens in the main DCEU timeline. And then Suicide Squad, like the first one that came out, which also was kind of bleh.
Yeah.
And
do not care for that movie.
And then now James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I haven't like been reading much on it, but I'm pretty sure that that's going to be its own interpretation of the Suicide Squad, but I could be wrong. Okay, so don't quote me on that.
Real quick, now that we're mentioning the new Suicide Squad movie,
yes,
we just want to shout out John Cena.
Yes. Yes.
Thank you so much for following our Twitter. We don't know why you did it or where you had the motivation to follow us, but you're like our first follower.
Yes.
And we just want to say we appreciate it a lot.
A lot. Okay. So for the people who don't necessarily know what's going on, so me and Zach, we've been thinking about this podcast for a hot minute now. And like ever since last year, and like we came up with this whole plan and everything, but then COVID happened, and I didn't have a really good computer at the time, and so we were kind of struggling. And this was before we knew about Anchor too. So shout out to Anchor, by the way, who sponsors this episode.
We'll get into that here in a minute. We're about to take a break here soon.
Oh yeah. So anyway, so we're thinking about this podcast, and then we kind of like the idea kind of died down for a little bit. Excuse me. And then one night when I was at work, I was like, you know what? Let's go for it. I mean, why not? You know?
So what he's getting into here is there is an unreleased version of the podcast that we have conveniently titled Prepubescent Nitpick Central.
Yes.
It's basically just me and him going on a whole tangent about social media and Snapchat.
Yeah.
But we never released it for very, very good reasons if you listen to it yourself.
Yes.
But if you do want to listen to it yourself, just head over to that Patreon, which we'll leave the links in the description below.
Of course.
And you can listen to it yourself. But yeah, we love to hear what you guys have to say. So if you guys do end up going over there to listening to it, definitely leave a comment down below, and we'll read your comments and see what you guys thought about it. But that is a very has not been edited. There's no editing to it. There's nothing to it. It's just raw me and Andrew going at it.
Yeah. Yeah. So we did that test one just to see how it's going on and everything. And then we're like, okay, yeah, we got a good, like, solid system for how we're going to, like, actually, like, record the podcast and put it up and everything. And so we're like, okay. And so we're kind of just getting ready for it. And, like, I'm putting together the social media pages, and Zach's, like, fixing up the YouTube and everything. And I made the Instagram and Twitter pages for NitPickCentral on a Sunday, I believe. Sunday night. And then a day or two passes, and I'm like, okay, like, I really need to fix this up, because I literally just, like, set it up. I didn't, like, put any pictures or anything on that yet. And so I went in, fixed up the Twitter first, and then I moved on to Instagram. And then I'm going to a buddy's house later that day, and I'm literally just in a McDonald's drive-thru, just getting a burger on my way over there. And I pull over so I can eat it, and you know how most people are these days. Like, whenever they're eating something, like, we gotta be watching something. Like, I'm completely guilty of that.
Yep, I do that too. You gotta find that perfect video to eat your food to.
Yep. You gotta find the perfect video to eat your food to. And, like, personally,
that's where we come in, the Nitpick Central podcast.
Most
baby.
Definitely. Whenever you're eating, like, some chicken tendies or eating some macaroni and cheesies, pop in the Nitpick Central podcast in your left ear or right ear or both ears and have yourself a grand old time. But anyway, so I'm sitting here eating my McDonald's, and I'm just kind of like scrolling through Twitter and like seeing how everything is. And then all of a sudden I see a notification pop up on the Nitpick Central Twitter. I'm like, okay, bet. and I look. John Cena himself followed
The
NitPickCentral.
actual John Cena.
The actual John Cena. I thought it was like a fan account or a bot account for a second. I was like, there's no way John Cena, like, what is he, MMA or WWE star?
WWE, yeah.
Yeah, WWE star, legendary John Cena, the guy who no one can obviously see because he's invisible, just follows this fetus podcast Twitter account out of nowhere. And I'm just like, there's no way. So I literally looked up on Google, like, John Cena official Twitter account, and it's the same one. And I made sure to sign in through that browser into my Twitter account, and lo and behold, he's still following me. And
that was the craziest thing. I think you called me
oh
seconds
yeah,
later.
yeah, I literally called you. It was like, I was like, I gotta let Zach know. I have to let him know. And
So the whole sorry to cut you off there.
No, you're good.
I was at work while he was eating, and looking at the Twitter and stuff. So this was middle of my like rush when everybody's like ordering food and coming to get gas, because I work at a gas station, coming to get gas and stuff while they're heading home from work. And I'm in the kitchen. I have the doors open. There's a bunch of customers out there. And I keep feeling my phone vibrate in my pocket. I'm like, all right, who's trying to call me in the middle of my shift? And then I look up and I see it's Andrew. I'm like, all right, buddy. And I hit okay and answer the phone. And as soon as I answer it, I put him on speaker because I'm, doing dishes and making food. So I'm not touching my phone. And he like starts screaming, Zach, you're not going to believe this. And I'm in the middle of my shift, so I can't yell. And I go, what are you talking about? And he's like, John Cena followed our Twitter. I'm like, no way. And he was like, yeah, go look. And I literally stopped what I was doing, immediately got on the Twitter, and I saw John Cena, and my excitement, I could not show my excitement because I was in the middle of my shift. So I'm just like, oh my God, no way.
Yeah, like I felt so bad. I was like, this man's like trying to earn like a decent wage, and I'm like disrupting his workflow and everything. But like, John Cena of all people followed the Twitter.
Literally just trying to contain that excitement while also trying not to like distract customers because I'm so happy. Yeah. But I was just, what?
It was
whispering into the phone.
Awesome. It was so awesome. And then later on we found out he actually followed your own personal Twitter too, right?
Yeah, he followed my Twitter too. Okay, it's technically my personal Twitter, but I use it for my YouTube channel mostly, so I don't post stuff on there just because I post stuff that relates somewhat to my YouTube channel. So like polls or upcoming videos or ideas I have, just anything YouTube related.
Mm-hmm.
It goes on that Twitter. And all of a sudden, after I hang up off the phone, about a couple hours later, he follows my Twitter too.
Like, who would have thought?
I'm like, what? So, and then, ironically enough, after he follows my Twitter, within that week, so maybe a couple days later, I checked my YouTube channel just to see what happened. My channel is fucking booming.
Yeah. Like, he's getting literally thousands of views on the most random videos.
I literally have had this YouTube channel for a good pushing 4 years now.
Yeah.
And the height of it was when I hit 100 subscribers, and then I hit 200, and then it kind of sat there for like 2 or 3 years, and it never changed.
Mm-hmm.
And my average view count for a video was like 50 to 100 views.
Mm-hmm.
That was it. I just enjoyed what I did, just made videos and then uploaded it. And then I go and check my YouTube channel about a week later, and I'm sitting at 1,102 subscribers, and I have like more than 6 videos that are over 3,000 views. I'm like, what?
Yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, like we were talking to her like, dog, is like John Cena showing like your channel to like everyone that he knows? You know, like on set of the Suicide Squad, he's like, hey James, come over here, look at this good or garbage thing I found on YouTube.
Yeah, check out these goons.
These absolute goons, dude.
Dog. What if, okay, I know this is way out of context, and I know we're just like completely shooting the shit here, but what if,
What
for some reason, he shows everybody our YouTube. So, just to put into context what I'm talking about, my YouTube channel consists of literally me and Andrew. Mostly me, but Andrew's in a lot of my videos too.
Yeah.
But what if John Cena just he's like, yo, check this out. And somebody calls me and you and goes, hey, we like what you guys are putting out. We'd like to invite you out to the set of Suicide Squad or some shit.
Dog, could you imagine? Could
The next
you
podcast,
imagine?
podcast is so me and Andrew are now canon in the DCEU.
Couple of shit posters canon to the DCEU. Who'd have
That
thought?
would be so gas.
That would be awesome, dude. Oh my god, that would be so awesome.
But
oh,
anyway,
God.
just wanted to shout out John Cena. You're a real one, dog.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate everything you've done so far.
Faux show.
We don't know if any of the stuff we just said is true, but we do appreciate the follow.
Oh yeah.
Biggest flex on all our friends. So.
Oh yeah. Like our families didn't even believe us too. We're like, oh yeah, you don't believe me? Bet. And so I showed my mom and my brothers, like, yeah, John Cena fucking follows me. And then Zach showed his family too because they didn't believe him either.
Yeah. It's insane. Insane.
Yeah.
We literally only have one episode. Heck, he followed us before we even started recording our podcast.
That's the thing that completely blows my mind. I had not even tweeted a single tweet on that account. And if I did, it was probably a couple retweets from like certain film accounts I follow on Twitter. And the man just follows me. I'm like, huh? What?
It was, oh my god, dog.
Like, John Cena, if you're listening, don't be afraid to give us some like tickets to come fly out to LA for an exclusive screening of not the Justice League, of the Suicide Squad. That would be kind of dope. Very much appreciated. But
we're okay. So me and Andrew have been Sorry to cut you off again.
No, you're good.
Me and Andrew have been talking about this for literally ever since it happened. So
yeah,
pretty much 3 weeks now.
Yeah,
3 whole weeks, and we've been meaning to shout you out, bud, on the channel for quite some time, but we always forget about it, and then times arise and stuff. But we've talked about inviting guests on the show.
Yes,
for quite some time, and just for all our loyal fans, if you guys ever do stick around, we may or may not. This isn't a promise, but if it does happen, just know we told you guys in our second episode of the podcast way back when, if John Cena becomes a guest on our show, yeah.
Okay.
It would literally, I don't know, it'd come full circle pretty much. He followed us first. It's only right we invite him on the show.
For sure. Oh yeah, like exclusive John Cena interview from NitPickCentral.
Like we could literally just talk about his career, or heck, we could be talking about Suicide Squad, the new Suicide Squad film.
Oh yeah.
And just invite him on the show so he could plug his new film while it's us, having him on the show. That would be so gas.
For real. So like John Cena, if you're listening, don't be shy. Hit us up on NitPickCentral Twitter, since you follow us.
Definitely hit us up.
Definitely hit us up.
We will be sure to get back to you ASAP.
ASAP Rocky.
Probably within the second you text us.
Oh, yeah. Our DMs are always open. Notifications for you are on.
Same to all the fans. try not to blow us up, but we will make sure to get back to each and every one of you. So
Most definitely.
if you guys hit us up with questions, or if you guys hit us up with suggestions or anything, all of it's welcome. And yes, even the hate,
Oh yeah.
because we already know there's going to be hate out there, but
Mm-hmm.
that's what we use to build off of. So
Mm-hmm.
if you guys start sending us all that hate, me and Andrew are just going to laugh at it, because like Andrew said in the last episode, you guys haven't seen me come full circle yet. I have been an like a whole ball of rage at some points. So if you guys send hate, we're just gonna build off of it, and you guys might end up seeing me. Like, if I complain about social media in the next episode, you guys might end up being on that podcast. Like, oh, well, this guy said, uh, bend over and do some stupid stuff. Okay, well, buddy.
Buddy.
So
Buddy.
yeah, we didn't mean to go on a whole tangent there, but just wanted to shout out John Cena.
Oh yeah.
You're a real one, dog. You're a real one.
You're the realest of all the ones.
But, so are we going into the next segment, or do you think we have time for an ad?
I'd
I think
say we go ahead and just finish out this segment, and then we'll move on.
Sounds good.
All
Sounds
right.
good.
So, let's see. The League arrives to Moscow. Batman does his thing. The League comes in for assistance, basically. And then you get to see them kind of like have their own character moments. So like Wonder Woman, she's off like being a badass, like with her sword and shield and everything, protecting Bruce and the Batmobile and everything. Aquaman, he's kind of jumping between all the heroes. Like first he's kind of like he hits his Ribus and Parademons and like kills them all midair, and then he kind of skydives for another group, and then like they carry him back up, and then he kills them, and then he's kind of just like flying through the air. Cyborg picks him up, and then they kind of like just have a little moment together, and then he tosses him. Aquaman kills more parademons and then lands on top of Batman's car. Cyborg, he's off like after he did that, he's kind of like doing this own thing where he's kind of like leading a whole like swarm of parademons, and then like he does this really badass thing where he has these like armed laser cannons that he like shoots like on the base of these buildings, so he kind of does like a spiral type of thing that makes the buildings fall down to like crush that whole swarm. I thought that was so dope. You remember that?
Yeah, that was stamp of approval.
Stamp of approval. Boom. And then the Flash, he is off on the like edge of the perimeter of like the nuclear plant that they're at, and it's just running around in circles basically, which it's kind of like a 50-50, because in Joss's version, like admittedly the Flash was kind of portrayed as like kind of like the bitch boy of the group. Like he was like, yeah, like I've only really ever pushed people out of the way and then like run away. But like the Flash, like historically, has always been like a really like heroic type of character, not necessarily like a coward. And I guess for this interpretation, it could have been fine, but it was just really jarring to see like that guy with that level of power be that cowardly, you know?
Oh yeah.
And he didn't really have much to do in Joss's version besides saving a family or two, or like saving civilians from like a fight or whatever. But in this, I'm pretty sure all the civilians are gone, are they not?
I'm pretty sure they evacuated, or at least left.
Mm-hmm.
Right at the like earlier in the film, whenever Steppenwolf like first arrived.
Mm-hmm.
But Yeah, like you were saying in the Joss Whedon one, there was because okay, to put in some more context before I even get into this, there was a scene because me, Andrew, and my stepbrother went to go watch this movie, the Joss Whedon one. But when they were evacuating somewhat, there was a family that did not leave. They were in a house still.
Yep.
And I had an open soda, like a soda bottle. Um, no cap on it.
No cap.
Like I'm not saying no cap, I mean like the cap was literally off, so no cap.
No cap.
Um, and we're just watching it, and I startle very easily. So if anything loud or anything just suddenly happens, I jump a little bit. But there was a freaking scene in the movie where this family's like, "Oh my God, do you see that?" And the camera like pans towards the window real slowly, and it shows the dome, and then a stupid freaking bug like slams up against the window, and I swear to God, I have never jumped so much in my freaking life. Andrew, like out of the corner of his eye, saw me jump so much that remember I said earlier there was no cap on the soda.
No cap.
Soda starts flinging out of the bottle, and my like I drop the bottle, and it's like I said, it's open, and it just rolls to the front of the movie theater under all the seats, and you can hear the liquid peer out of it, and I'm like, well, I'm not getting that, so.
Oh, that will be an unforgettable movie theater experience, dude. On top of Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah, we'll have to save that for another podcast.
We'll save that for Captain Marvel when we eventually tear into that dumpster fire.
But yeah, anyway, so in this version and in the Joss Whedon one, Flash and I think either Superman or Wonder Woman, I don't remember, like evacuate the city as fast as possible. Evacuate all the civilians, and there's that cringy scene where Flash like loads everybody into a truck and like zooms across the city.
Mm-hmm.
None of that happens in Zack Snyder's. They're already gone, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
And Flash is off doing like the Ring of Death around the whole attack that they're doing.
He's basically performing the Xbox 360 Ring of Death around the whole area.
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, that's going on. And then it cuts back to Superman arriving at Batman's estate to kind of chit-chat with Alfred. And I mean, this scene, honestly, I think could have been like left on the cutting room floor. Just because, I mean, nothing really much happens. Like, Superman just meets up with Alfred and, like, talk for a little bit. But Alfred doesn't even, like, let Superman know where the League is at. And I'm pretty sure Alfred doesn't even tell the League, like, hey, Superman's coming your way. Like, he'll be there in a few minutes because he's literally, like, one of the fastest people to ever live. And so, I don't know. It was really weird, and I just think it could have been cut.
Yeah, I agree.
But, okay. So, this next scene, it's basically the climax of the movie. And so, I'm just going to go through it beat by beat, kind of like in a summarized, like step-by-step way. So, whenever you want to like pitch in your 2 cents, just go right ahead. So, it starts off with Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman moving in on Steppenwolf as the Unity is trying to form and everything. They battle together while Batman secures the perimeter, so he's basically going around making sure the parademons don't distract Wonder Woman, Cyborg, and Aquaman from trying to like do their thing inside with the Unity. And Batman's also trying to like stave off some of the people who are shooting at Flash, because there's a certain parademon on a turret that's constantly like shooting like the Flash, and like he sees like the electricity ring that's going around the perimeter, trying to like get him to stop doing that, obviously. And so that's going on. Cyborg attempts to connect with the Unity, like I said, and they kind of just have this moment where like he connects with it. And then what's it called? Wonder Woman. Yeah, Wonder Woman and Aquaman are fighting off Steppenwolf, and then I think Wonder Woman like does that thing with her gauntlets where she like clings them together and creates this whole like shockwave that kind of like destroys the bridge they were standing on. The X-Force. The X-Force clang. So they do that thing, and then like Steppenwolf's kind of like shit talking Wonder Woman. He's like, "Wow, like your mom put up a pretty good fight too before I killed her."
Oh my god.
And then Wonder Woman's like, no. Like a WandaVision type beat, just no. Or something like that.
Yes.
And then they both or Cyborg kind of like flies back up, or he either flies back up or he's still like trying to connect with the Unity. And so Wonder Woman and Aquaman are kind of just like trading blows, like working together and everything. And that's something that's really cool too in this ending fight, because I'm pretty sure in the Joss version of this, even at the end of the movie when like all the heroes are supposed to be like teaming up and doing everything together, they were still really separate and like spread out. But in this one, you got to see them kind of work together akin to what the Marvel heroes did in the Avengers movie, like the first Avengers movie, especially at the end, like that one long one take shot where like you see Black Widow, Iron Man, Captain America on the bridge and everything, and then like Iron Man like shoot, or like Iron Man like shoots Cap's shield but creates like a beam, and then Iron Man like flies up, punches some people, and then leads up to Hawkeye like doing his thing, and then you see Hulk like going on doing his thing. It's just that kind of stuff.
Literally, it's just like panning around, showing everybody doing their thing, all in one continuous take. It's just one it doesn't cut to different versions of what they're doing. Mm-hmm. It's just one camera just panning around New York City as they're doing their thing. Yeah. It's literally that exact same thing. And yeah.
I personally think Avengers did it better, but I mean, I definitely got reminded of that scene because of what I saw in Zack Snyder's Justice League in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
But so that's going on, and then Steppenwolf eventually subdues Wonder Woman and Cyborg, or not Cyborg, Aquaman, and then like he gets his axe, and then instead of like just either throwing it at Cyborg or just cutting him down where he stands anyway, Steppenwolf like does this thing where he does like the typical like bad guy circling the good guy type of thing, and then he slowly approaches Cyborg and almost cuts him, but then Superman comes in at the last second, and then like the axe just like boop, just stops right there on his shoulder, and he's like, not impressed.
Oh yeah, I remember that, because he showed up, and me and you, we were already pretty freaking flabbergasted at how this movie was going. I mean, there was so many parts where me and him were like, what? You know, we had our jaws open pretty much the whole time at the end, but when Superman finally showed up, it wasn't anywhere near the feeling we felt whenever we saw the Joss Whedon one where Superman just showed up. He showed up and we're just kind of like, in that one. Yeah. But in this version, when he showed up, we're like, oh, what? Yeah. You know, we're like freaking out because it made sense, and it felt good to see Superman finally show up in that black suit and just do nothing but kick ass.
Oh, yeah. Like in the Joss Whedon version. Oh, sorry to cut you off.
No, you're good.
Oh.
You're good.
In the Joss Whedon version, like Superman, like he came and like he defeated Steppenwolf, you know, like the saving grace of the team and everything. But in this, like he came in, he wrecked house, but they still ended up losing. But we'll get to that in a bit. So like Superman comes in, and just literally just makes short work of Steppenwolf. Like, as the axe is still like on his shoulder, he uses his frost breath to like freeze it and then punch it, so then the axe is like explodes. And then Batman just like punches like Steppenwolf just like over and over again. Wonder Woman and Aquaman are getting in blows and everything. And then I remember like Steppenwolf got pinned down by Superman, and then he's got to see that one moment where like Superman like lifts like his body up and then like looks down at him.
Oh yeah,
and
I
then
remember
uses
that.
his heat vision to cut off one of Steppenwolf's horns, and you're like, sheesh, this man is not holding anything back.
Yep, rated R, rated R.
Rated R. And then at the same time, so during this whole thing, Cyborg, it cuts back to Cyborg every now and then. It's like, okay, Barry, like, okay, like the Unity's like almost like merged, and like I'm connected to it. Like you need to like power me up so I can do this now. And Flash can like barely hear because he's going like so fast, like his senses are getting impaired basically. And then as he's still running, a parademon gets a lucky shot on him, like
Oh
in his leg, and so that
yeah, I
stops him
forgot about that.
from running, which also like depletes the charge that he had going up. And then out of nowhere, you get to see Apocalypse, like the portal to Apocalypse open up. You get to see DeSaad and Darkseid like looking into the area and everything. And then the Unity forms. And they were like, what?
That's not good.
Yeah, like all the heroes collectively like shit their pants basically. And then next thing you know, the whole world explodes.
Pretty much, yeah.
And then Flash is like, okay, like this is it. Like I need to get myself together. I got to break that one rule that I promised myself I'll never break. And then like this is what I was saying is like one of the most like at least like top 10 like comic book movie moments, because like the heroes lost, but then Flash like gets himself together and like gets empowered by the Speed Force so much so that he literally reverses time and kind of like fits it to his will, because you can see as he's running, the ground beneath his feet is forming as he's taking the step. And so yeah. And so it's so cool, and like the environment and everything and how everything looks, like it looks really really damn cool. And at the same time, like as cool as it looks and as cool as the moment is, there's kind of like a part of me that dislikes it in a way
Because of his running.
Because of his running. I cannot stand the way the Flash runs in this iteration of the Flash, but he goes back in time basically, but like there's no real like repercussions of him doing that. And so like you just got to imagine like, why couldn't he have just used this kind of ability before? Like, you know, I know it's like a rule that he said he wouldn't like try to mess with, but I mean, I don't know, it's just kind of weird how there's no real like repercussions of it and everything. But I mean, that's neither here nor there. But yeah, he goes back in time to the point where just before the Unity formed and everything, and he reaches a Cyborg who gets powered up, and then the Cyborg sees like premonitions of himself like as like on the battlefield, and he sees himself and his parents.
Ooh, this part was creepy.
Yeah, like you get to see himself and his parents. He's like, yeah, like it's time to let go. Like you're my, like his mother said like, yeah, you're my broken boy or whatever, in like a really sweet way. But it's like in context, like that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
And so, but Cyborg, he's gone through like this whole journey throughout this whole movie, and he's like, you know what? No, I'm not broken. And so the mother boxes was like, they're kind of like taking the form of him and his parents and everything. They kind of start to like break, like kind of like break character, and like you get to see like the demon, like sentient side of these boxes, like in this vision. And then, like Cyborg like does away with them. And as he's trying to split the Unity, Superman comes in to help him, and then they push the things away. And then like Steppenwolf, he's kind of just like sitting there like, oh my god, like no, like the one thing he wanted was to like get these mother boxes to Darkseid, or like collect these mother boxes so he could destroy this Earth, so he could like get back in Darkseid's good graces again. But he failed. He failed yet again, and out of nowhere, as Steppenwolf is watching this happen, Aquaman comes up behind him, uses his mother's trident to stab through his back, through to the other side of his chest, and then Superman, I believe, like, he punches him, and then Wonder Woman comes out of nowhere and in slow-mo, obviously because of Zack Snyder, cuts off Steppenwolf's head.
Oh my god, yes!
Which leaves Steppenwolf's body kind of just like laying there lifeless on the floor, and then Steppenwolf's head goes through the portal back through Apocalypse, where it lands at Darkseid's feet. And then there's this moment between the League and Darkseid just eyeing each other down. It's like, yeah, I just did that, or we just did that. What
we did that, yep.
Like, you trying to step on my turf now? Huh? But so yeah, that happened. The portal closes, and then Darkseid talks to DeSaad about how, like, yeah, like, I mean, DeSaad's like, yeah, I expected Steppenwolf to fail, and Darkseid's like, yep, same. And they're like, we're gonna have to go about using the old ways to get the anti-life equation again. And that's something that I found rather strange, because after you like think about it for a little bit, like, how did Darkseid and like Steppenwolf and DeSaad just forget that the anti-life equation was on Earth?
Yeah.
Because like, I mean, you had to imagine, like, if that's the one planet out of probably the thousands, if not millions of planets you've like taken over that defeated you, and that was the one planet that you for sure, like, yourself found the anti-life equation on, but you just couldn't get it because the people of Earth like defended themselves against you. Like, how do you just forget that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's really odd. But anyway, it cuts back to the League. Like, they're doing the good old-fashioned like slow-mo superhero like posing, you know, like you see all 6 members and everything. You get to see a little bit of camaraderie between Cyborg and the Flash. Like, they give each other a fist bump, like, yeah, like, we're cool, we're bros and everything. And we get to see the Batwing come pick them up, and then it cuts to the epilogue.
And so basically at this point in the podcast, we're going to take a short ad break so we can me and Andrew ourselves, like we did in the last one, we can, you know, relieve ourselves, take a stretch, get some more water to drink, because we have been talking for a hot minute. But we just want to take a second to have this ad break, and we'll get back to you momentarily. Thank you guys for tuning in this long to the podcast. We surely appreciate it, but we're going to head into this ad break. So,
all right, we'll see y'all in a bit.
Alrighty, we're going to take a minute to shout out the wonderful people over at Anchor.fm. They are the entire reason you're hearing this podcast on Spotify or Apple Podcast, or, you know, wherever you might be listening to that is not on YouTube. Anchor allows for people to quickly and seamlessly put together their own podcast by either uploading the audio of the episode or, you know, by recording your show straight from the browser itself. Anchor also has a mobile app allowing you to record podcast episodes right from your own phone. Anchor has a wide selection of transitions and songs to help spice up your own podcast, and since they're owned by Spotify, you're able to link your Spotify account to Anchor itself, and you'll be able to pick songs from your own playlist if you so choose. Now, the real kicker is, for this service, is that it's pretty much the one-stop shop to put your podcast to services like Spotify, Apple Podcast, Overcast, and many more. Once you go through the process of recording your episode and filling out all the necessary information, Anchor will take your episode and distribute it out on all the major streaming platforms. And yes, this is completely free. That's right, free. If you want to take your show to the next level or just want to try and make some extra pocket change, you can sign up with Anchor's sponsorship program and get paid every time someone listens to your podcast episodes. Anchor will try its best to find sponsors for you that fit your style of content, and if all else fails, they'll just sponsor you themselves, still allowing you to get paid. All this is also free. If I didn't mention that, it is free. So if you're interested in starring in your own podcast and want to make sure your voice is heard, head over to anchor.fm to sign up and make your dreams a reality like me and Andrew did. Thank you for listening, and let's head back to the show. Alrighty, welcome back, guys. We are back from the ad break. Sorry, we unfortunately have to do that, but we all need breaks at some point. Podcasts get a little bit lengthy, and sometimes, nature calls.
Nature calls, indeed.
But we are glad to have Anchor as a sponsor. We're just real happy that they're on board with all of this. But anyway, welcome back to the podcast. Let's hop back into it, Andrew.
Yeah. So we just got done with the big final battle climax of the movie, which was most epic in my opinion. But I mean, it does have its moments where it's kind of meh, but overall pretty damn good. And so now we're moving into the epilogue, which is titled "A Father Twice Over." And so basically it starts off with Cyborg back in his apartment, and he listens to the tape his father left for him so long ago at the beginning of this movie, where he finally listens to the father side of the tape, because when he first listened to it, he was just listening to the parts where Silas was talking to Cyborg about him in a scientist perspective, telling him yeah, this is what you can do, this is the impact that you could possibly make because of how powerful you are and everything. And whenever it's tried to segue into the part where he was just talking to Cyborg from the heart, Cyborg just really wasn't in the mood for it, and so he just crushed it. But Cyborg used his powers to reconstruct the tape and listen to that, and so we kind of get to hear this voiceover from Silas throughout the remainder of the epilogue up until the nightmare scene, at least. And so we get to hear this dialogue as we see Aquaman meet up with Volko and Mera to kind of talk about well, we don't get to hear them, but it's pretty much implied that they talk about him coming back to Atlantis and everything, and he goes back to see his father eventually, going back to see his father, which kind of sets him up for the events of the Aquaman solo movie. Ryan Choi gets promoted to be the head director or whatever at Star Labs in place of Silas Stone, who again is no longer here. Batman, Alfred, and Wonder Woman go back to the old Wayne estate and kind of set up base for the Justice League. He's like, yeah, I want a big round table right in the center, right there, 6 chairs. And Wonder Woman's like,
but room for more.
But room for more. And the Flash sees his father back in prison to tell him that he got a job at a crime lab, which is a real good end point for his character arc in this movie, because he was trying his best to find all these different jobs so he can help pay for this criminal justice career, so he can get his father out of prison eventually. And he eventually landed the job at the crime lab finally, and so things are shaping up for him that way. Batman helps Superman, Martha Kent, and Lois Lane settle back into their childhood home, and you get to have this same instance where Superman's like, so how'd you get the house back? And Batman's like, well, I bought the bank. It's like, okay, guy. I mean, you could have just bought the house, but I mean, you do you. I mean, now you have a whole bank to your name, so I mean, now you're even more rich, and as Alfred said, probably more pretentious. um, and then Cyborg visits his family's grave. Like he gets to see his father's grave, his grave, or his quote unquote grave, and his mother's grave, all like in a shared like thing, like you know how families do sometimes.
Yeah.
Um, and it's kind of like a bittersweet moment, just because like he's learned a lot throughout this journey, throughout the movie, and he's kind of accepted the fact of what he is and who he is now at this point. And the way I see it is like he sees, when he sees his grave, he sees the part of himself that he missed, and that he
what he used to be,
and what he wants to be again. But again, he's accepted the fact that, yeah, I'm a cyborg. I have basically am a mother box like creation, so he's just running with it. And so he then takes off into the sky and kind of just does his own thing. Then it cuts to Commissioner Gordon, who activates the bat signal, just kind of visiting him again, kind of getting like a streets, like everyday kind of view on the world again, as you continue to hear this voiceover. Blah, 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 blah. Words are hard. Wonder Woman goes back to Greece and kind of just like reminisces and just thinks back on everything. Then it cuts to the Flash, and he's just like he's burping, but he's running freely, going about his day, just like being good old Flash, just having a good time and everything, saving people. And then then it finally cuts to Superman out and about in his like Clark Kent persona, like with the whole like hairdo and the glasses and the big trench coat covering up his suit and everything. And then to get the good old fashioned, like, he looks up at the sky because he knows like there's trouble about. And then as he's like, he turns like towards the camera and starts to walk towards the camera, and then you see that thing where he like unbuttons his trench coat and you see the Superman S. And then
classic.
He shoots up in the air, and then to get that classic, I'm pretty sure it was the Christopher Reeves one that popularized this, where he like shoots up in the sky and then you hear like the boom because he like broke the speed of sound or something like that, right?
Oh,
Yeah, you can see that classic like send off, I guess. And then that's basically that. And so this, I feel like, was a really good send off for these characters, like in this context at least, because of like this version of the movie. In the Joss Whedon version, it just kind of like it just left a lot of stuff like unexplained and left other things like not resolved, you know.
And
it was pretty much like sequel baiting. Like, yeah, like we got the job done today, but there's a lot more to do tomorrow. And I guess you could say the same thing with this, but that really happened with Darkseid and DeSaad back in part 6. We didn't really get to see any of that here, which is good, because we really just want to focus on letting the characters finally breathe, take a moment, and get back to their norms, basically. And then after this, it cuts to Arkham Asylum, where we get to see Lex Luthor has escaped because like they're calling a roll call or something like that, and all the inmates leave except for one guy who looks like Lex Luthor, because at the end of Batman v Superman he has like bald hair, or a bald head I should say, not bald hair. So yeah, we get to see Lex Luthor has escaped. And we also get to see Deathstroke again as he meets Lex Luthor on his yacht, and they discuss Superman's return, and they discuss Batman's identity, or Lex reveals Batman's identity as Bruce Wayne to Deathstroke, because originally Deathstroke was going to be the main antagonist of Ben Affleck's The Batman.
which would
But
have been cool to see.
yeah, that would have been so damn cool. Like that movie was supposed to be more of like a detective, like crime thriller type of movie, but with like superhero elements added in, and like with Deathstroke at the helm, like being the main antagonist, like I said. But still, it's just a shame that we never got to see that. But it's good that we got to see a glimpse of what could have been. You know?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then they didn't really talk about this a lot, but it was definitely implied about forming their own like group. And I know that was like the big like cliffhanger in the original cut with Joss Whedon, like maybe we should make our own league or something like that. And then it zooms in on Jesse Eisenberg's face where he's like, ho ho ho. But yeah, that happens. Lex reveals Batman's identity. And then finally, it moves on to the nightmare world. Like it does a real hard cut. Like boom, we see, I believe it's Metropolis, like just a barren wasteland, like we saw in Batman v Superman. You get to see Darkseid is taking over the world with the anti-life equation. Like the world is just like again a barren wasteland. Like heroes are dead. There's just a ragtag group of individuals that include Batman, Cyborg, the grown-up version of the Flash, Deathstroke, Mera, who is kind of like replacing Aquaman for like the Atlantean people because Aquaman died at the hands of Darkseid, and Joker of all people.
And Deathstroke.
Yeah, Deathstroke. Joker attempt to like dodge a corrupted Superman, and this is where we get to have that dialogue between kind of like all the characters, except for Flash. I think he's pretty quiet during this, but Mara's like, yeah, I'm gonna make him pay for what he did to Arthur and everything, and Batman's like, yeah, we'll get there eventually. We just need to keep looking out for ourselves and play our cards right, basically. And then like he has like I forgot exactly what happened, but Batman had a dialogue with Deathstroke for a little bit, and then it cuts to Jared Leto's Joker, who is severely cut down from what he was in Suicide Squad, but that's a good thing because
that's very good.
He was just off the rails in Suicide Squad with that version of Joker.
Yeah.
Like he looked like a. I know that this was like a, like the main, like term people use to criticize this version of Jared Leto's version of the Joker, but he looked like a Hot Topic, like teen romanticized version of the Joker because he had that stupid damaged tattoo on his forehead. He had tattoos all over his body. He had the grills. He had the slick back green highlights hair and everything. He wore clothes like as if he were a pimp and everything. And
yeah,
like pimp Joker, it's an interesting take, but it's not. It doesn't cut the cheese, bro. It simply does not cut the cheese.
Yep, it's not it.
It simply just is not it. But in this, we got to see a lot more tame version. Like he's kind of in a more traditional Joker look, like white face, blackened eyes, red lips, and everything. He's got longer hair, actually, like longer green hair. But I think it's an overall really cool look for him. And then
I do too. Well, I love his outfit. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good.
It just screams Joker in the apocalypse because, like I was telling you when we first watched it, I said, of all people to survive the apocalypse, it's this guy.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at his outfit, and it's literally, he's got the Arkham Asylum, like, patient outfit, the robe stuff on.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's got a security guard's body armor on, and he's got a whole bunch of police stars across it. Kind of like trophies of how many police officers he's killed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, obviously, like you said, it's a little watered down, so we don't see all those tattoos and stuff. His hair has obviously grown a little bit longer since last time we saw him.
Mm-hmm.
His makeup, he kind of gave up on it, but he still has it on. Yeah. You know what I mean?
And
but
Oh, sorry to cut you
Awesome.
off.
No, you're good.
Oh,
You're good.
um, I've seen some people on social media like, yo, like, how the hell did Joker like get rid of all those tattoos? And like, I mean, obviously, it probably wasn't what they were going for in the first place. But I mean, if you really think about it, like, this is Joker we're talking about. If Joker decided, like, as crazy as he is, like, if Joker decided to go through some like crazy like laser surgery to get a tattoo removed, like, I'm sure he'd have a ball with that. Like,
Oh
the
yeah.
man like loves pain, basically. Like, it'd be a freaking carnival ride for him, basically,
Yeah.
to get rid
Literally.
of those tattoos like all over his body. So I mean, it's just one of those things where like it's a nitpick, and like that's kind of what we're here for. I just think it's a little silly,
But yes.
but yes. But then we get to have this dialogue between Batman and Joker.
Finally.
Finally, with Batman's or Ben Affleck's Batman and Jared Leto's Joker. Um, and they're basically saying to each other, it's not like the classic, like, we're not so different, you and I, and like, you complete me or whatever. Like, we're two sides with the same whole, you know. It's more of like a like deeper, like more serious conversation, where like they both recognize that they are polar opposites, but also very similar in certain ways. But like they're coming together for a certain reason, and that's to like fix Superman and finally take down Darkseid. Even with the anti-life equation that he has, and we get a weird like sex, like innuendo, like reference, because Joker's like, if you kill me, then who's gonna be the one to give you a reach around or something like that. It's like, okay,
Yeah. I remember that.
okay, that's interesting, but I mean, you do you, I guess. So yeah, and then we get that super cool line of Batman saying like, yeah, like Harley Quinn, she was dying in my arms as she was bleeding out, and she told me to kill you, and make no mistake, I will fucking kill you. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
Whoa. you do you, Batman.
Batman doing Batman things.
Batman doing Batman things. Well, I mean,
Ratman and Bobbin.
Ratman and Bobbin. Zack Snyder's Batman doing Zack Snyder's Batman things, I should say.
Batflack.
Batfleck. Because, I mean, obviously a normal traditional Batman story wouldn't have Batman killing people. But I think in this version, like, I think it's a natural progression, because you got to think, I mean, we didn't necessarily get to see the history in Batman v Superman, but obviously, like, it's heavily implied in that movie, and like we get to see the repercussions of that history. Like, Batman's just a broken person. Like, he's basically Batman like 24/7, but he gets to be Bruce Wayne, quote unquote, like every now and then, just to keep up with appearances. But then after like going through like the fight with Superman and Doomsday, seeing Superman sacrifice and everything, he kind of like changed face and like had a whole new perspective, and so that's what kind of fixed him and going back to a more traditional Batman. But then this nightmare sequence like also implies this situation calls for like a higher, like, not necessarily higher standards, but it's just like we have to put like our personal like morals, I guess, aside, so for the greater good, you know, because like the whole earth is presumably just up in flames and like a barren wasteland because of Darkseid, and so like you got to do what you got to do to fix everything, you know.
Oh yeah.
And so then
Wait, did you mention Superman showed up like at the very end of that?
yeah. So after Batman and Joker had this whole thing, and Deathstroke looks at Batman and he's like, are you sure you're like 100% positive you wanted to bring him along? And then Batman's like, what do you think? And then all of a sudden we see Mara like, oh crap, like Superman found us. And then did he actually do anything, or did he just kind of like stand there and look menacing?
He didn't do it. Yeah, he just kind of floated up to the platform they were on
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of stared at them. But his eyes, like, all of a sudden turned red,
Mm-hmm.
like he was about to shoot them.
Yeah.
But then it cuts right after that, so we don't
Yeah.
ever see anything.
Mm-hmm. Which, if you didn't know, that's actually reused footage from Man of Steel.
What is
Like
the?
that clip of Superman like standing up and like looking at them with the red eyes, like that's reused footage from Man of Steel, just like altered a little bit.
Oh, that's cool. No, I didn't know that.
The other scene, like whenever Cyborg is like having those premonitions, like before they even revive Superman, that one part where Darkseid's like putting his shoulder on Superman's, or putting his hand on Superman's shoulder, I should say, that's also a reused screen capture of Man of Steel, because it's after Superman killed Zod, and he's like he's kneeling on the ground, and he's like, no, because he like just killed off like the only other person of his kind, and so he's screaming. And so that's like the same clip, just again slightly altered, where he's not screaming, he's just like crying.
Huh.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
And I saw a like side by side comparison. I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. But yeah, Superman finds them, attempts to shoot them with heat vision, but then Batman wakes up at his estate. It was just a dream. Again, like another premonition that he had with Flash. And then out of nowhere, like he just has the inclination to walk outside, where he meets the Martian Manhunter.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they kind of just have like a chit chat about like, yeah, like Darkseid, like you may have, it basically amounted to this, like you won the battle today, but there's a war coming. There's a war coming in the future that we have to prepare for. I just want to let you know, I'll be there to help you. And you got to think, like, where were you like 2 days ago? You know,
this whole time,
this man has just been on the back burner, becoming like different people to fit in whenever Kryptonians came to Earth to mess with Superman, whenever Lex Luthor was up to no good and Doomsday was here, and then this whole thing with Steppenwolf and Darkseid, like, where was this man the entire time?
Yeah, he was just kind of there.
Yeah, just there, but I mean, he had the gall to walk up to Batman after all that had happened and just be like, yeah, I'll help out next time. Peace out. So, yeah, they have this little dialogue. Martian Manhunter tells him, like, yeah, I'll help out. And Batman's like, okay. And
I bet.
I bet. And then Martian Manhunter flies away and credits roll.
Yeah, I don't think there was any after credits.
Nope. The
But,
closest thing
that
there was to after credits was the nightmare scene, but I mean that
is
happened
true.
before. But
that, my friends, wraps up the Justice League movie as a whole.
Yep. That's basically our rundown, like scene by scene, of Zack Snyder's Justice League. And before we leave you guys, we are going to go ahead and give like our final thoughts and our rating on the movie. So you want to go first?
Sure.
All
right. So my final thoughts of this movie, I'm not going to pick it apart, even though that's, my job. I'm pretty sure we've done enough of that, considering we had to split this thing up into 2 videos.
For sure.
But my final thoughts on this movie is, like I told you, Andrew, I am just happy it happened.
Mm-hmm.
It could be a dumpster fire of a movie, and I still would have been happy just because it happened.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? There was so much hype up behind this movie. There was so much build up for it, and there was so much indecisive activity, pretty much. They were like, oh yeah, we'll release it. Oh, well, maybe not. Well, actually, I think we're going to release it. But then it gets, held back because of COVID and shit.
Mm-hmm.
But it happened. Thank God it happened.
Mm-hmm.
We got 4 hours of the Justice League
4
doing
hours.
Justice League things. We finally got to see some things like fan service, like I mentioned earlier. We got to meet new characters. We got to see new things. We got to recap on things that happened in previous movies. And all in all, it was just a fun ride. I enjoyed it. It's a movie that in the future, like if I ever have kids, I'm definitely going to show them this version and completely ignore the Joss Whedon version.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Be like, guys, you like Superman and Batman? Watch this. So
Nice.
that's my 2 cents on it. I love the film. I'm happy it happened. Although there were some parts of it, like we discussed, that definitely could have been left out, it still made up for a great film.
For sure. So, what would you give it a rating? Like, what's your like rating scale look like? Out of 10, out of 5? What are we looking at? Or
Okay, so I'm gonna say let's do this for all our films. Let's do out of 10.
I personally am doing out of 5.
You're doing out of 5? Okay, well I'll hop on that level too.
Okay, bet.
So we're doing 1 to 5, right? 1 being god awful garbage, and 1 being 5 being amazing.
I have from 0 to 5 actually. So 0 is the worst, and then 0.5, then 1, 1.5, and then all the way up to 5.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So what I'm going to rate this movie is, this is going to surprise most of you. I'm not giving it a 5 per se, because it's not, gold. But just because of the stuff I just said previously, I'm happy it happened. I'm relieved that we finally got to see the Snyder Cut. I'm going to give it a 4.5 out of 5.
Ooh, wow, okay. So, personally, I am also very glad that it happened, just because, I totally sympathize with Zack Snyder in this whole situation. Like, he just got done so wrong by this studio and this corporation. And the fact that he got the chance to actually go back and have full creative control over this movie and got to see his vision completely sought through and fulfilled, it's just something really, really cool to see and really inspiring, honestly. And like, people have like a whole bunch of differing opinions on Zack Snyder. I really don't have that much of an opinion on the director, because I've only seen like a chunk of his movies, most of them being superheroes. But I just think that this is a good thing to happen for cinema in general. I think this sets a pretty good precedent going forward, like of more cuts to be revealed or to be put out that no one thought would. But overall, I'd say the movie is better than Justice League. But it's not perfect, at least in my opinion. And it definitely has some scenes, like we were saying before, that could definitely be either trimmed down or cut entirely. And there's also some bits and pieces in the movie that still don't quite make a lot of sense, both with characters and just kind of like logic, like according to the universe, at least, like to that respective universe, that still I feel like was overlooked. But overall, like, besides those like certain issues I think it's honestly a pretty good film. So I'd say out of 5, I'd give it a solid 3.
A 3?
A 3,
okay.
which is a above average,
middle ground.
Yeah, about a above average film, in my opinion.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Like, it's pretty good. It does a lot of good stuff. It does some bad stuff, or not necessarily bad stuff. It just kind of does some like lower quality stuff, in my opinion. But I definitely recommend it to anyone to watch it, even if they really aren't that interested. But I definitely think the 4-hour runtime was definitely a big deterrent for most people.
Yeah, it is a bit intimidating.
Yeah, for sure. Which, if you didn't know, I think I might have showed you this before, but John Campea reported this a couple days ago, where apparently only 36% of the people who watched the movie actually watched all 4 hours of it.
We're part of that 36%.
Most definitely. Most definitely. But yeah, so I'd give it a strong 3, above average.
Okay. All right. So, just for future reference to all the people that are listening, whenever we do any sort of nitpicking on films, video games, or even music for that matter, we're going to be using this rating system.
Yeah.
So, like, our next episode of the podcast it's not even covering music or movies or anything. It's just us talking about stuff. So we're probably not going to use this rating system in that one.
Yeah.
But anytime you see us talking about films, video games, music, just expect us to use this as our rating system.
For sure.
Moving forward. So,
For sure.
But I think that just about does it. Do you have anything else to add?
No. I just think it's finally good that we finally got done with this review of this movie.
Yeah.
Like it's been a very high profile movie. I mean, even after like what, 3 weeks to a month after it came out, like it's still gross.
Pretty hot topic.
Yeah, pretty hot topic. Had a pretty good amount of discourse going about it, and I think it was an overall success. Like, even no matter like how you spin it, I think it's a good thing, no matter what.
For sure.
But
alrighty, guys. Well, I think that just about does it for all of us. So, just want to thank you all again for tuning into the Nitpick Central podcast. We'll be coming at you more. We're gonna try and have more of a somewhat schedule instead of just uploading, freely. This was a complete mistake. We didn't mean to do it so far apart like this.
yeah,
We just had stuff pop up at the worst possible times, and then we had a bunch of technical difficulties. So we're trying to bring you the most, the best content we have to offer without any problems. So, of course, we're going to have problems, and we're going to try and fix that before we bring you, this content. But here we are,
yep,
doing our thing.
our thing.
Before we leave, we just want to plug in the social media outlets down at the bottom. So if you click on the description below, you'll have my personal Twitter, you'll have Andrew's personal Twitter, you'll have both of our Instagrams, you'll have the Nitpick Central podcast Twitter itself, the Nitpick Central podcast Instagram. You'll also have the Patreon, so you can listen to, the prepubescent Nitpick Central podcast, the before, what it is now. It's very interesting to listen to. You'll also have some of our outtakes in there. You'll have some of our mess ups. You'll have all kinds of exclusive content over at the Patreon, so I highly suggest checking that out. Also, just want to special thanks to John Cena again. Still cannot believe
Of course.
he followed us.
Of course,
But-
gotta love John Cena.
Gotta plug him.
Gotta plug him. Gotta get him.
Alrighty, well, I think that just about wraps it up. Thank you guys for tuning into the Nitpick Central podcast, and we'll catch you guys in the next one.